7th of August, fully vaccinated adults in Wales who come into contact with someone who is tested positive for coronavirus will no longer have to self-isolate.
However, in England, the Prime Minister insists the government will not remove self-isolating rules for fully vaccinated people in England until the 16th. But with a record number of people having been pinged by the NHS COVID-19 app, with almost 700,000 alerts being sent to users last week, should England's date be brought forward? Joining us now is the Secretary of Transport, Grant Shapps. Good morning. Good to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. Why are we out of step with this, then? Why is the picture so different in Wales from England?
Yeah, we're saying there's still 2.5 weeks to go before we can release that very last lever that we have to control the spread of coronavirus. It's probably worth knowing that actually about 1 in 3 people who have been asked to self-isolate do turn out to go on to develop symptoms, or rather coronavirus, not just symptoms, actually coronavirus itself. So it's quite an important measure, and we just want to be sure. We've seen in the last week cases start to decline. We want to see that continuing, so we're sticking with the 16th and monitoring it very carefully. But it is an important measure, and it's one of the last things we have to do, considering that we've released the other lockdown measures.
You say that 1 in 3 people go on to develop symptoms or develop the coronavirus that are self-isolating, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of young people are not self-isolating, and also 50% of people are not checking in.
So, I mean, first of all, it's very important that people do carry on following the guidance. It literally saves lives. I mean, that's as simple as that. It doesn't just protect yourself, your family, but also your loved ones as well, because it prevents the spread, or even people you don't even know, whose lives you may in the end up saving. So it is very important that people do carry on following it. Obviously, the app and when you're called by Test and Trace, that works regardless of whether you've checked in or not, because that works on a proximity or because somebody's provided your details. But I mean, I would just encourage people. I know people are tired of this. It's been going on for a very long time. Fortunately, in this country, we've got these extraordinary levels of vaccination, with nearly 90% of adults having had at least their first jab so far, 70%, over 70% the second. So we've got these very high levels, and we just want to protect it and protect people as we get into what we hope is the final stage of this of the last measure that we've got to help control it.
So come August the 16th, why is it not going to be compulsory for those that are double vaccinated and don't have to self-isolate, for them to at least take a PCR test?
So what we'll do is ensure that people would have to replace it by doing testing, so that if people know that they've been alerted that they've been in contact with somebody who's tested positive for coronavirus, then of course we'll be asking people to make sure that they haven't picked up coronavirus, and testing is the way through doing that at the moment. But what we won't require people to do is stay at home and do the full self-isolation thing. We think we can move away from that stage as part of our sort of careful programme of unlocking.
When we're looking forward to what's going to happen when workers start to return to offices in greater numbers, do you foresee that there should be a situation where companies can insist that their employees are double jabbed as a condition of coming back to the office?
Yeah, I think some companies will require that. On balance, though, because the vast majority of people have got themselves vaccinated, I suspect this won't really matter to people one way or the other, because they're already vaccinated. I mean, similarly, if you want to go away, if you want to go abroad, I don't think any country in the world is going to end up accepting non-double vaccinated people. So you need that to travel. You'll need it for other activities. The Prime Minister's already said for nightclubs and the like from the autumn. So, if you're watching this and you still haven't been vaccinated, please go and book your vaccination. You're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting your loved ones. And as I said before, people you don't even know will be protected by your action today if you go and book a jab.
But do you feel comfortable with this position that, there are those people that feel that the government is forcing people into it because of the measures, because of the way they're talking about the restrictions that will be in place, the proof that you'll have to have of being double jabbed to get access to things?
Yeah, I don't struggle hugely over this. What more evidence do we need? We've seen 60,000 lives saved because of our vaccination programme. We know now. We know that coronavirus unvaccinated has killed, millions of people in the world. I mean, what more evidence do we require? And that there's a vaccination which is safe, reliable. Why would you not want to do it? And as I say, just as a fact of life, nothing even to do with the British government, if you ever want to leave the country again, you're going to need to be vaccinated anyway. So, no, I'm pretty relaxed about it. I think it's the right thing to do.
But not everyone is relaxed about it, particularly 50 MPs, well, in your party, are prepared to vote against the government's misguided vaccine passport plan. What do you say about that?
Well, let's wait and see what happens. When you say misguided vaccine passport, I think people have kind of speculated about whether you need a vaccine passport to enter a pub, and there's no plans for that.
But there have been changes made, just to say, haven't there? Because we know that the app has been updated with domestic and travel options for Britons to prove their vaccination status. We know that the government signed a 12-month contract with a company to provide COVID passport technology. So I think people are thinking, what's coming next with this?
I don't know why this is particularly controversial. 9 out of 10 people have had their first vaccinations. They're going on to have their second. So most people have already had their vaccinations anyway. I'm talking about adults who have had their vaccinations anyway. So for most people, it doesn't matter one way or the other. It does protect not just your life, but other people's lives when you get vaccinated. So, of course, as a society, we should be encouraging it. We won't go as far as requiring it to enter a shop or the pub. We will for very close contact things like going to nightclubs. Other countries are for international travel. So, I think there's precious little reason not to be vaccinated. Every good reason to be vaccinated. Why wouldn't we want to save lives? I mean, it's just obvious to me.
Can we talk about the traffic light system? There's been rumours over the last week or so that there's a possibility that Spain and Greece could go onto the Amber Plus list. I mean, you pledged last time that you'd give people more notice. Lots of people are either going to be on holiday at the moment in those destinations or will be going in the next few days. They don't want to get caught out. So when is the next announcement and what's likely to happen?
So the next announcement is this time next week. I think it's Thursday. It comes on a 3-week rolling programme. And that's when we'll have the data. I don't have that data currently because the Joint Biosecurity Centre will be analysing every country in the world right now. And they'll want to give us the very latest information. Yes, there is a chance that countries will move around. There's not even a chance. Countries will move around. It is just a reality of having to deal with this, coronavirus. It doesn't give us notice and all the rest of it. We'll do whatever we can to try to assist by giving indication. It won't always be possible. And I think the big message is if you are travelling this summer, it's not like it was back in 2019 before all this started. We know that there is an inherent risk that countries will move around in the traffic light system, and the virus doesn't give us notice, unfortunately.
But also from Monday, we're going to have two-way traffic. People from the EU and also the US will be able to come into this country. How assured are you that this isn't going to make things worse?
Yeah, so we're doing this very, very cautiously. You'll remember previously we've opened up so that people who've been vaccinated in Britain and fully vaccinated could travel back here without having to quarantine. Well, now we're saying, actually, if they've had exactly the same vaccination in the EU or the US, both places where we recognise the quality of the vaccines, then people from overseas will be able to come here and not need to isolate if they're coming from amber countries. So as part of the unlock, we want to go further as well, eventually to other countries where we can recognise their vaccine programmes. How confident am I? Well, they still have to take a test before they come here. They still have to take a test after they arrive here. So it's not, if you like, a free-for-all, and it only applies to people who've been double vaccinated. So we've taken every precaution with this to gradually just start to reopen things. And very important, I think, for people who've got friends and family who they've possibly not seen for a very long time, to reunite families. So we recognise that we do need to open up the world, but do so in a very cautious way.
You talked about the review next week. Is France going to be moved from Amber Plus back down to Amber? And did you get it wrong on that one? Because, it's been described as excessive, incomprehensible. It seems that the figures for the beta variant were based on La Réunion, thousands of miles away from Paris, and perhaps parts of northern France as well. But it doesn't seem like there are the levels there that would warrant it being on the Amber Plus list.
Well, certainly the Joint Biosecurity Centre had concerns about France and what's called the Beta variant, which was the one which started in South Africa. We've actually managed to suppress that in the UK, and we did that by putting South Africa on the red list very early. But they had seen significant levels in France, possibly from Reunion originally, but actually these were measured in France itself. So it wasn't that, as I've seen reported some places, it was only an issue of cases which were not in France. They were. And the Department of Health deduced that they needed to act quickly, therefore, and out of sequence based on the information that they had straight away. Now, you ask whether they'll move. I simply don't know the answer to that because I haven't seen the latest JBC, Joint Biosecurity Centre, analysis of the French situation. But we will be looking at that for a week's time. So this time next week, we'll know the answer to that question.
Is this getting a little bit political? Daily Express front page, Brexit revenge, EU blocks opening up to UK tourists. EU is poised to start a vengeful travel war over the UK's tough stance on post-Brexit trade. Can you shed some light on that, Grant?
Yeah, I saw the headline. Look, I don't think that's the case. In fact, most European countries, when I speak to my opposite number, I spoke to my French opposite number yesterday, Jean-Baptiste, and they clearly want British tourists and travellers and business people to be able to visit again. So I don't think that when people say the EU, it's 27 different countries. They all follow their different rules on these things. So I don't think that's the case. I think broadly speaking, the world will try to reopen now. It's clearly going to happen on the basis of fully vaccinated people. And I think the message is simple. If you're watching this, then make sure you are fully vaccinated. It's going to be your passport to be able to travel in the future. And I think that our European colleagues will recognise when Brits have been fully vaccinated in the same way we'll recognise when they've been.
Grant Shapps, Transport Secretary, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.